Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully everybody out there is doing great. What's going on? Well, yesterday was a pretty productive day. I got the parts in for my little van, and I contacted our mechanic that I trust quite well, and he said he'd be out the next morning, and which was yesterday. And he shows up and goes to work. First thing I replaced was the oil sending unit. Now, the location of this sending unit, if you get into any debris at all, and you will if you live in the jungle, you're going to break that little sucker and you're going to yank that wire out. It isn't the first time this has happened. But it's the first time I've been able to acquire a brand new one with a new plug. In other words, parts are getting more available. Speaking of new parts, the noise that Grace had been hearing on our little trip to Tom Getty and back was actually the alternator. It was in that low pitch whine. Well, I knew this alternator had been on the decline for the last, well, since we've owned the little van, the last 5 years. And I've been monitoring it with a voltmeter on the dash. And I'm sure if you guys have been following me, you've been hearing that thing going crazy beeping. That's why, because low voltage. But I've been nursing right along, and I had a backup alternator, I still do. It was a used one I'd gotten from a what they call surplus uh, dealer, or used part dealer, or whatever you want to call him. And I've been just carrying that thing around. I've never installed it and never tested it, so I'm not 100% sure it's good, but I've got it. Now, I did get a brand new one, and already had brand new belts. So I try to keep stuff like that on hand, and a new tensioner bearing. Uh, so he replaces the alternator and the belts and the tensioner bearing. And he shows me the old tensioner bearing, and it is on his last legs. That's pretty common with these little vehicles. Uh, the location of the tensioner bearing, where those engines are installed, these vehicles, they catch all the debris, and and they're not that expensive. They're about $10 or $12, something like that, and they're fairly simple to put on. 10 millimeter wrench and a 13 millimeter, a 10 millimeter hex wrench and a 13 millimeter. They're not too bad. I'm trying to think of which is something else. There is some other things that. Oh yeah, in the process of doing all this work, he undoubtedly removed the wire that I had repaired once before, many years ago, uh, for the AC compressor to kick on. Well, since we have a failure of communication due to language barriers, it took him a little longer than it should have to find it. But the good thing about it is he required a little education in the process. But he finally found it. Took him about an hour, I guess it was. Even though I pointed it out uh, about 15 minutes into it, that he had to check the fuses and chase everything down. So that's okay. No problem. Now we did one other little simple task. We had front end work, replace the ball joints and lower control arms. Uh, a couple of months ago, I think it was. Anyway, my steering wheel off center. He got to experience the removal of a steering wheel. I asked him, "Hey, you ever experienced that?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, you're gonna get to experience this one." And I showed him because this one here, it's not like you would think. By taking it apart, you just pop the center cover off, and you got access to the nut and everything. This is a little different. And these little vans, that center cover is actually holds an airbag. In my case, our airbag has been disabled. That's okay. Then I showed him how to take that center off. There's two screws, one on each side of the steering column, that holds it in place. Once those are taken loose, the center cover comes off fairly easy, and you got, if it had the airbag connected, you had that to disconnect and also the horn. Then you got the 17 millimeter nut to deal with, which wasn't no big issue. He just used impact. This is the fun part. He grabs the steering wheel. I just smiled. I said, after he struggled for a minute or two, not hardly that long, I said, I'll show you a little trick. Step to the back of the van, get my little blue box out, which contains what I call a steering wheel puller. It's actually a small bearing puller. And I showed him how to center it up and use it on the van because it comes with screws and everything you need. And he was putting pressure on that with the puller. I smiled. I said, I held my hand up to him, hold right there. He did. I reached over and just thumped the steering wheel, and it jumps off. Said, all you got to do is put some pressure on it, just wrap it, and it'll come off every time. Anyway, he pulls it off, and he turns it about an eighth of a turn, about what it was, about an eighth of a turn, and to center it up. Um, so, and then reverse the process. Let's see, it seemed like there was something else we did. I can't remember it all back in my head. Sometimes, that's the problem about getting older, guys. I'm not complaining. I feel very happy that I've made it to this age. Oh, and my morning coffee. Enjoy that. Anyway, over there, all that said and done, young man, we paid him for his time. He wanted to think about $20, something like that. So Grace, I said, uh, he's got a new family. I don't know if he got a baby on the way or not. But he just got married probably about 6 months ago, something like that. I said, give him a little extra. So we gave him roughly about $30. Because he was here for a little over 3 hours, something like that. And they don't make a lot of money, no way. And coming to my house and doing this is it's just fantastic. Because if you go to these shops, there's really no place to sit, no place to wait. It's it's hot, uncomfortable. There's very few shops that have a waiting area and a place that you can relax while they're in, and you feel comfortable about them working on your vehicle. That's another thing. There used to be a place in San Carlos that I enjoy going to, but they changed their policy, and I said, okay, no problem. The reason I said, okay, no problem, because they didn't want to do any work unless they get the parts. You know what brought all this about? Uh, the last time I had the vehicle there, I needed wheel cylinders for the rear drum brakes. None to be found in San Carlos. None. So they put my little vehicle back together because none available, and I had one leaking. I said, okay, I'll find some wheel cylinders and I'll be back. A couple of weeks later, I come back with a set of wheel cylinders for the little man. They refused to install. I said, well, that's the way you want to be. You couldn't get the parts that I needed, and I show up with the parts that I needed. I wasn't about to do without the van for weeks or maybe months while y'all fiddle around twisting your thumbs trying to find parts because you don't want to take time to do it. I said, that's okay. I've got other choices, which I did, and still do. I'll keep uh, at least two good mechanics that I trust. It's something, if you move here, if you're not familiar with living in the Philippines, you're going to drive and you're going to get a used vehicle or these surplus vehicles, they call it. First thing you need to do is find a reliable mechanic that's knowledgeable enough about these little vehicles and put them on a retainer uh, because you're going to need them because most of these vehicles are high mileage and you're going to have issues. There's no way around it because things wear out and they got a limited lifespan. But you have to have that understanding. Now, our little vehicle, it's a good little van, and I know it. Grace, on the way home after the test drive, asked me if I wanted to sell it because one of our friends sold their little van, and of course it was two-wheel drive and not a turbo. And I thought they sold it too cheap, but each your own. Of course, theirs had some issues. Ah. And I told her, I said, ours is basically not for sale. I said, I know what we've got. Got basically a brand new engine in it. Most of the parts that wear out have been replaced. We've got a source there, good source of someone with knowledge about working on this van, and I feel very good about traveling this. If we start over, we have to experience all this again. So that's where we're at on that. We had a good meal yesterday, and we had to pick up a case of oil uh, for a motorcycle parts deal. We sell motorcycle parts here, and my friend out back and his family, he does the work, and wife does what I call gym whack jobs for Grace. Last time we were in San Carlos, we picked up a lot of stuff, and Grace was busy and didn't look over the order. When she got home, the case of oil was missing. And I didn't know exactly what she got, so I was unaware when they put it in the van. It should have been two boxes instead of one. If I didn't go in with her, and wasn't no need it. Anyway, we picked it up, and we had dinner at one of our favorite restaurants. We hadn't been to that one in a couple of months. No, I had a good lunch. Barbecue pork ribs, which were very tasty with mashed potatoes, and I had coffee for it. I've gotten away from drinking so much soft drinks, and especially ones that's not that has sugar in them. When I do, it's ones of zero sugar. Usually it's Coke Zero if you're curious. I don't even have many of those. Anyway, that's what we did, and on the way home, we talk about our new family member, Cookie, what Grace named her. We left her behind with her dad to kind of keep an eye on. We on 11:30. We gone roughly about almost 4 hours. Anyway, when we got home, her little marvel, she was so excited. I've gotten attached to her. She's sitting here now. She keeps me company in the mornings, and she's roughly 3 months old, just a tad over, and she's adapted real well. For been here about a week now. She's an early birthday present for Virgil, for those you want to know. And as I expected, Virgil attention span is very narrow when it comes to something like that. But it's okay. Grace enjoys her, and I enjoy her. So that's the main thing. And we got to take her to the vet next week, so we start getting her shots updated, and try to keep her as healthy as we can. And for a pup, she's been a very good little pup. I mean, she's not one of those yappers, thankfully. As you notice, you don't hear her yapping, and I'm sitting here yapping. But occasionally she will bark, but it's usually at one of her cats walking by her. The cats look at her real funny and wonder what she's barking about. But she don't even do that much, really. At night, we keep her inside the house in the living area, and she's just a peaceful little dog, She sleeps by her bedroom door mainly. I get up in the mornings like about 30 minutes ago, something like that, almost an hour ago. She's right there. She follows me around. I get my stuff for my coffee and so forth. I'll give her a little snack when I get out here. She's uh, she's pretty entertaining when she wants to be. If she has her snack and she gets comfortable, she lays right here close to me. And that's about it. Anyway, guys, sorry to rattle along so much. I just thought I'd say a few words, see if everybody's doing okay out there. Thanks for all the comments. Uh, Thank you guys for following me along and listening to me rattle. Until next time, keep those smiles coming when you're out and about. Live long and prosperous.